Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Laurie from Cook Scrub Craft. Today I'm doing something a little bit different because I'm doing cards. It's not something you see me do very often here on the channel, but I'm doing it today. And I'm doing it because I really wanted to participate in Call Me Crafty Al's Sheetload of Cards challenges that happen, I think, every month. And I've never done it. And finally I said, you know what? 2024 is gonna be the year that it's gonna happen. And so here I am doing it right now. This is the January 2024 Sheetload of Cards sketch challenge thing. Yeah, it's a card sketch. And you can go to her YouTube channel. I'll try to remember to link that down below, and you'll find the link to download that PDF, which tells you all the tools you need. Papers you need, the sizes the papers need to be, what size to cut the papers into, and how to place everything onto your card bases. So this was the first time that I had ever done it. I'm using my Martha Stewart Crafts scoring board to get some really nice crisp lines on my card bases. I am making card bases from scratch, taking pieces of pattern paper or cardstock and folding them and cutting them to make the card bases. If you already have your own card bases, then you could just use those and you wouldn't have to worry about that. I think there's a lot of different ways that you could take this Sheetload of Cards challenge and make it work with the things that you have, which is kind of nice. And what's also kind of nice is that you can basically remake the same design in a variety of card themes. Birthday, I'm doing Christmas, but you could easily do birthday, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, whatever. And it's just really nice to have this design and all of the instructions to create it in your back pocket so that anytime you need to make a card, you can easily do so. So I used pieces from my Christmas scrapbook kit, which just basically had a bunch of leftovers in it. And because the directions say that you needed like 3 12 by 12 pieces of pattern paper. So I just went through a Michael's Christmas paper pad. There's one of them. And I just took out 3 different patterns that were still left in that paper pad. And then it also required 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I think 2 of them were supposed to be like solids. I think actually they were all supposed to be solids. Now I can't remember. But I didn't have solid color cardstock. So again, I kind of just went through that paper pad, took out pieces that I could use. Maybe I didn't like the front side of the pattern, but the back side was white. So I figured that would be fine for a white cardstock base or whatever. And I just cut those pieces down to 8.5 by 11, and then I gathered everything together so that I knew what I needed and what I had, and then I started cutting based on the cutting directions. Now, my first time doing this, I guess I got a little confused or something. I didn't cut something right, and so you're supposed to end up with 10 card bases, but enough pieces for 9 full cards. So you can do something else with the 10th card base. You can still make a 10th card, but the way you're cutting all of this stuff out, you're gonna have 9 cards. The way I cut this stuff out, I ended up with 8 cards. Something happened and I didn't cut a paper right and I didn't have enough left over for what I needed. So I don't know what happened. Definitely user error, but I think there's a little bit of thinking involved in this. As you're watching me do all of this cutting, there's a little bit of thinking in terms of what orientation does my paper need to be, or if it says 4 by 5, which side is the 4 and which side is the 5? Just some stuff that you maybe not think would be that important, but then when you mess up and you go, oh, I guess that was kind of important to think about, which is not something that I normally do. Not that I don't think about scrapbooking when I scrapbook. I don't think about cutting and measuring. Sometimes I don't. I don't like to overthink things when I'm doing my scrapbooking. So this was just a little bit of a different type of experience for me. What else was I going to say? So I end up with 8 cards. And some of the pieces, like the card bases, I used pattern paper, but I flipped them so that just the white side was showing. But as I was going through to build the actual cards, I thought, you know what? It's okay to let the pattern side show. I kind of like that. and then the inside is all white. So there are a couple you'll see at the end where the outside is white and the inside does have a pattern. So I'm going to have to go back in and add, you know, a white piece of cardstock to cover up that pattern a little bit so that I can add a sentiment or whatever I'm going to add in there. But hey, I got 8 Christmas cards done, which is pretty good considering the fact that last year I had a goal of making my own Christmas cards and it didn't happen. Not that I don't enjoy ordering photo Christmas cards, but there is something fun about making the cards and sending something out that's handmade. I will say though, when I go through the Christmas cards that I receive, the ones that I save are the photo ones. I don't have space to save every card. So in my December daily, if you send me a photo card, it gets hole punched from my 6x8 D-ring album, and it gets put into the December daily album. I did try it once with regular cards, but because regular cards have a flap, they're not flat. It was really tricky and it required a lot of extra work. Like I was cutting the cards in half and then gluing the front and the back together so that you could see the sentiment. And it was just like, this is ridiculous and it's using up a lot of my adhesive. So, you know, I enjoy them while I have them and I display all the cards in some way, in some form or another throughout the holiday season. But then I do kind of have to recycle some of the regular cards. So sorry to anybody who is sending me beautiful Christmas cards. But I'm doing something good for the earth. I'm recycling, right? So now we get to a part of the video where this is kind of going more into how you can kind of take this design and really make it your own. Because originally it called for a 2-inch circle. I did not have a 2-inch circle punch. Did I have a 1 inch, a 1.5 inch, and a 3-inch? Yes, I did. But I did not have a 2-inch. And after I did this, I realized I could have gone into my creative memory circle cutting system. I'm sure I could have cut a 2-inch circle using that. However, I wasn't thinking about it at the time. I was only thinking of circle punches for some reason. So what I did was I just took my 1.5 inch circle punch and punched some circles using that. And also what's going to happen, I'm going to end up coming back because I punched it out of a pattern paper and I thought, you know, I could use the white side and just make it be, or yes, you could stamp a sentiment on the white side if you wanted to do it that way. But I really wanted there to be something kind of bigger and I didn't have any embellishments that I could have added, or at least at the time that I was doing this, I couldn't find my leftover Christmas embellishments. I knew I had some somewhere. They were not with my Christmas stuff. I later did find them in with other embellishments, and I was like, well, darn it, poop on that. But I think my cards still turned out fine, and now I have leftover Christmas embellishments to do something else. But the pattern paper that I used to punch out these circles, I didn't really like the pattern side of it, and then the white side was just a little blah. So because I wanted there to be something like big and something visual, I did go back into my stash and I found a really pretty kind of gold foil polka dot paper that I was able to cut some circle or punch some circles out of with my 1.5 inch circle punch. So here's where I'm putting the card together. I'm only going to show you putting together one card. I made you watch all the cutting. It's a lot of steps, a lot of cutting, but basically putting the cards together is all very similar. It's just using different pieces and, you know, matching up the different pattern papers in different ways. So you've got your base, which for this one, I used the pattern paper side. Then you put a piece of pattern paper on top of the base. Then on top of that, you've got a smaller piece of either pattern paper. Sometimes I did pattern paper and sometimes I did just the white side of the cardstock that I cut. And then in the center, there are these two little squares of different pattern papers. You're almost like making kind of a grid thing. And then those same patterns, but mirrored in like longer rectangles. And then where the squares and the rectangles meet, you can cover that up with the small little strip of paper. Sometimes I kept it to the white side of the paper, but because I was using pattern paper, the other side, sometimes I used that pattern. I ended up with a gold foil, gold foil piece that you see there with the stripes. I also cut paper strips out of that. So because I used that behind my little squares and rectangles, I also brought it onto the front of the card or I brought it onto the front of this card because I had that pattern paper in those little strips. But I didn't do that for every card. Some cards have just white strips. It's kind of nice. It was kind of nice just doing different things with each card. And then because I didn't have enough for 9 cards, there was one thing that I didn't cut right. So I have all the other elements. So I just need to go back into my Christmas stash and find something that's the right size or can be cut down to the right size that I can put onto that 9th card so I can finish that up. And then, like I said, you'll also have an extra 10th card base. So I could go back into my Christmas stash and find some scraps that I can cut into the correct sizes. Now, if you don't want to make all 9 cards, there are instructions for just how to make one, which I actually kind of like, because if you're not working with a full paper collection or something and you want to use your scraps, which is kind of what I do when I do cards, just using the dimensions, the instructions for the single card might work better, because then you don't need to have full 12 by 12 pieces of pattern paper. You can just find smaller papers that coordinate, smaller scraps of paper that coordinate, and create a card based on that. And here's where I've got that new gold foil paper with the polka dots that I am cutting out new circles for. Now I'm coupling that with one of the circles that I had originally punched out. It's kind of got a poinsettia design on it. And then I'm going to finish up. So here are my 8 cards. So it's supposed to make 9, but as I said, I cut something the wrong way, and then I ended up with one fewer. I think it was of these panels, or maybe this one. I can't remember. One of the panels I ended up with one fewer because I cut the paper the wrong way. No big deal, because I still have the base with these 2 over here. So I'll just go back, find some other papers, and recut the rest of the things and make another one. No big deal. So some of these are going to be white inside. I used the pattern paper side on the outside. This one also used the pattern paper side, but some of them, or I thought there was one. Yeah, so like this one, this is on the inside, so I am going to have to cover this up with like a white piece of cardstock just going in, or like 2 panels, one here and one here. Not that big of a deal. I'm not really that concerned about it. That was just that one, I think, and this one were the ones I did, because this pattern paper, it says happy birthday, so it's not really Christmassy, but the rest of them are all just the pattern. And I don't really mind that you can see this here. I'll probably still put a stamp on it. Like, I think people understand that these are pattern papers and they're going to expect that the pattern crosses over here. And I kind of like this one too, where you can see the numbers. You can get like a festive countdown on the back. But anyway, so I did 8 of these, and I'm excited because now I have 8 Christmas cards that are good to go for 2024. And I have the Sheetload design or measurements and everything, so that I can do more with other Christmas paper as I get it, or I can also use the same design to make birthday cards and Valentine's Day cards and whatever I want. So I like that I have this. I'm gonna keep this design in my back pocket. I might need to start like a card making portfolio or something, so I can easily access all of these. But yay, I finally did one of these and I'm really excited. So thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time for more scrapbooking or card making. Either one, huh? Yay!